Friends, when it comes to ancient history, most of the events we talk about are the ones that happened after the deluge of Noah. However, precious little is known about the Harappans of the same time period who had built great cities in the Sindh River basin. All that we are told today is that once they flourished, traded with the Mesopotamians, and then vanished without a trace. Now the Bible has some details on what happened right after the flood. And the Indian Vedas shed some light on this period as well. Today, let's try to figure out who these Harappans were with the help of the Bible and the Vedas. In the post-flood days, Noah's 3 sons and their descendants lived in a place called Haratta for a few generations. This place must be somewhere in the present-day Armenia. This is where Noah and his sons settled once they descended from the ark that landed on Mount Ararat in the Turkey and Armenian border. This is where Noah planted a vineyard, as it is mentioned in the Bible. And this is where Ham saw the nakedness of Noah, and Noah cursed Canaan because evil had multiplied at this place. Noah's rebellious son Ham and his son Cush were worshipping the opponent of Noah's God Yahweh, which was Lucifer the devil. Under Lucifer's guidance, Cush has subjected his women as incubators for every creature possible. Now, Cush is Kashyap, meaning Father Cush in Hinduism. According to them, Kashyap's wives gave birth to all the living creatures, and God severely dealt with Cush and his descendants for that. Now, there was another rebellious group which belonged to Nimrod, who again was a son of Cush, as the Bible clearly states that Cush begat Nimrod. He was a giant born of Cush's women intermingling with the fallen entities of the abyss. Nimrod left Aratta early on. He hunted down the wild beasts that were roaming around, cleared the forest lands, and built many cities all over Mesopotamia. Hindus worship him as Lord Shiva. Secular history remembers him as Enmerkar. And the other part of this rebellious group were the Harappans, because both the Mesopotamians and the Harappans had established cities even before the rest of the people moved out of Aratta. Furthermore, they were also trading with each other because they both were Cushites and they trusted each other. I will prove this to you a little later. Back in Aratta, sons of Noah, namely Shem, Ham, and Japheth, divided the known parts of the earth by casting lots, out of which Shem's lot was from the shores of the Mediterranean Sea all the way to India. Having partitioned the lands, Ham and Cush proceeded to the Nile River region, which legitimately belonged to Cush, and they settled there. Ancient Indians called Africa Kushadvipa because that land belonged to Cush. While Ham and Cush were on their way to Africa, Ham's another son, Canaan, occupied the region of Levant, which belonged to Shem. Mesopotamia, which was a portion of Shem's land, had already been taken by Nimrod, and Sindh River region, again another portion of Shem, was held by the Harappans. Noah and his pious son Shem had to come all the way to the Gangetic plains of India to carve out a place for Shem. There too, some sons of Japheth called the Purus had settled down. Shem formed a coalition government with them, which became the ancient India, the Bharatvarsha. These two groups are known as Bharata Puru clans in the Vedas. Then there was a mention of some people called Dasyus in the Vedas. And I read in a book called Nemesis of Nations written by William Romaine Patterson that these Dasyus were dark-skinned enemies of the Vedic Aryans. So I ran a word search for Dasyus on a copy of Rig Veda, which fetched about 100 results, and I screen captured a few of them, which proves that they are indeed some Kushites. Please pause and read the screen for details. So, the Harappans were Kushites too, friends. Yahweh God did not like certain things that they did, and he dried up a large river named Saraswati, along which they had built their many cities. So, what happened to people of Harappa? Well, they migrated to Egypt, which after all was the land of Kush. We find this detail in a book called the Book of Sothis, which is a record from the time of Pharaoh Amenhotep III from the 14th century BC. They settled in Egypt. In conclusion, Harappans are not some strange people that the world cannot understand. We know their place in history as well. Thanks for watching.